Hi everyone, this is a video response to Kittythedreamer on her video about dreams and possibly experiencing alternate realities. Um, I suppose I should start with, in my tradition, which is kind of a fairy witch, fairy Wicca, fairy craft tradition. Um, there's either the idea that we have three separate souls that occupy three separate spaces, or that we have our one soul that is continuously occupying three different places and can be in three different places at once. Um, the other world, the underworld, and this physical reality that we're experiencing right now. So I don't know if I ascribe to the idea of experiencing alternate realities or parallel universes while we are dreaming. My understanding is more along the lines of, say, if you're in a familiar place, like the house you're living in, but you're acting in ways that you wouldn't act while you're awake, that you might be experiencing different aspects of yourself, engaging different parts of your being that you don't normally engage while you are awake, because there are parts of you that don't really get to engage in this reality, this physical reality, on a daily basis. And I think that the the, the soul, or yeah, the soul wants a sense of wholeness. So while you're asleep, it might engage parts of you to to have a sense of wholeness, of completion. Um, I'm not sure if that makes sense, but that's kind of what my idea is. That if you're acting in ways that you would not normally act in waking life, that you're experiencing, engaging parts of yourself that don't generally get a lot of attention or get to be expressed while you're awake. Um, talk about some of my dream places. There is a place that I call the university. Um, it's pretty much what it sounds like. It is a big campus with a cafeteria and hallways of classrooms, and a PA system, and announcement screens. Like in some universities, they have these huge like television screens that run announcements every day. Um, it has pretty much everything that a normal campus has, and I visit there generally when I'm dealing with. Sorry, that was a puppy. When I'm dealing with situations where I need to learn something in waking life. I've been to a biology class. I've been to quite often I've been to a theory of mathematics class, which for me is um, learning about the patterns of the universe, um, or different patterns that I have engaged in waking life, like situations that repeat themselves, habits that I've picked up, that sort of thing. Um, there are also sociology, psychology, anthropology classes, and even metaphysical type classes, religion classes, comparative religion. Just about any kind of class that you would find in a university is probably there. I haven't been to all of them, but I've been through all the hallways, or most of the hallways. It's a very big place, and it's kind of labyrinthine. You can get lost. I have gotten lost in there. One time I got lost looking for a chemistry class, and I ended up in an English class, and it was really interesting how that worked out. But yeah, there's also a camp. It's a campus, so there is an inside the building and an outside the building. Outside the building, I tend to get into confrontations with police and to deal with other students that are on campus that are not particularly pleasant. Um, and I'm not exactly sure why that is. Sometimes it is that one of them represents a person I know in life, and sometimes it's just probably me engaging a part of myself um, combatively that I need to deal with in waking life. Um, One time I was in the hallways and I met someone who is actually a person that I met in waking life after I had this dream. I don't think I want to give his name. He's kind of tall and has blonde hair and blue eyes and kind of attractive. But when I met him, we were in the hallways waiting for a class, and we started talking, and I had we had an exchange of gifts. He gave me some photos of a beach in Florida, and I gave him some of some of my little crystals and some personal items that were special to me. And when I woke up later that day, um, I had a conversation with him, found him through Facebook, and he said yeah, that there was a beach in Florida. I think it was Fort Lauderdale, a beach in Florida that he visited as a child quite regularly. His family would take vacations there, and it was like one of his favorite places to be. And he thought that was so cool that I was able to learn that about him in my dreams, um, without ever having had that interaction with him, to know while I was awake that he liked to visit this place. Um, I have met people in my dreams that I later meet in life, waking life. Um, let's see if I can remember one now. I've met some of my closest friends there, um, since I think that's been since high school. I've been meeting people that way, um, through my dreams, and then generally, if not the next day, within that week, I meet that person. As far as places, let me think. Yeah, okay. My emergency place. If something or some being in my dreams is giving me a really difficult time and I can't seem to wake myself up, or if I want to stay in my dream, even though I'm having this confrontation, um, I will take myself to a place that to me seems like it is like in the ocean, and there's water everywhere. It's very a vivid blue, and there are greens, and sometimes there are fish, but generally it's just me down in the water, and I will just sit there and I can breathe there and everything's fine. Like, I don't have a problem. I will sit there and be in the cool water. Sometimes it's warm, but generally cool water, and looking at it's very clear, so I can see kind of what's going on above me. So I can see the sun and the land around, and even if there's a being up there, I can see them, but I'm down in the water where nothing seems to bother me. So that's my emergency place. I go there and immerse myself very quickly if something is seriously the matter. Another place that I have visited multiple times is up in the mountains. I don't know exactly how to describe it. If it is a habitat for the she, for the fair, shining people. I think that's what it is, because of the impressions I get from the people that are there. Um, the houses are huge, like they are, and it's in the mountains. I they're not like mansions; they're just very big houses. Um, and the people are very tall, like 10, 12 feet tall. Um, when I go there, I can be their height, but generally I am my own height, so I'm less than 5 feet tall. So I'm kind of like a hobbit there. Um, and the place does remind me of a little bit of Rivendell, if you've seen the Lord of the Rings movies, and it was like a decade before the Lord of the Rings movies came out, and I didn't at the time even know who Tolkien was. I was like the first time I went there, I was like 10 or 12 years old, and at that time there was no Lord of the Rings out, and I had no access to the books or even knew about the author. But it does remind me of that place quite a bit. The the color scheme is different and the lighting is different. It's a more mellow place. It's got shades of blue and purple and green. It's not the bright yellows and oranges and the bright sun, and it's not as it's more it's got a more of a muted feeling to it. It's not a very cheery, happy place. It's more of a serene, calm, contemplative place. Um, and when I go there, I go through the base of the mountain, and there's like an opening in the base of the mountain, and I go through. I actually have to pass through um, with the permission of a gatekeeper. Um, he kind of guards the place, and I've explained a little bit about him in a previous video, but um, I've gotten to know him pretty well. He's very protective of the place. The first time we met, he came at me with a weapon, kind of like a long spear or sword. Yeah, it was intense for a moment, but he found that I was not trying to cause trouble, and I was welcome there eventually. Um, and I visited there quite a few times. Sometimes I've met beings there that were not pleasant. Um, some came off as very mischievous, and like they kind of wanted to play pranks on me or cause me some trouble. But most of the time, it's these very tall, fair, serene people that live in these huge houses. And I believe that I have been there before. That I might have lived in this place in a past, not past life, not well, yes, past life, but not past incarnation. Um, in the other world, yes, in the other world. I think it's a part of the other world where I am actually from. I can't prove this, but it's very familiar to me, and I keep going there, and I tend to be at home with the people there. They act like they know me. Um, and they act like real people. Like I can't um, I can't anticipate how they're going to be with me. They don't seem like archetypes that fulfill one particular aspect of who I am. They seem to me to be real beings with their own identities and their own behaviors and attitudes and all of that. Um, Another place, let me think. There is a cave, and a woman that I visit in a cave, and I go and engage her when she has something to say to me. Um, Most of the time, it's for a tough lesson that I need to learn. She's a very fierce woman. Sometimes she appears like an old woman, like the hag, with with some bad teeth and gray wild hair and crooked nose, and she's kind of like the archetypal witch without the green skin. Um, she's a very old woman. Sometimes she is a a young woman, but with like flaming red hair and these sea blue green eyes, and she's very intense, and she's very tall, and she fills up the space of the cave. She's very imposing. She's got a very impressive presence. Um, and in this cave, it's really serious when I need to learn something about myself or about my spiritual path. Um, that is very intense. That is very important that I get it. She's very direct and to the point. Um, I also visit different houses. I have different houses. Um, I don't know how to describe them because there is one that is kind of like the house that I grew up in as a child, but there are differences to it. It's bigger, and there are different rooms that are not in that house that I grew up in. But I go there when I want to engage. Oh, don't hurt each other. That's not nice. Goodness, engage my family. One of them just pulled the other one's ear a little bit too hard. Um, when I want to engage like the relationship issues in my family and deal with them in my dream space before I actually get the opportunity to do it or get myself together enough to do it in my waking life, um, I go to this place. It's kind of like my childhood home. And then I have a place that really I've never seen before. It's a house under construction, which to me suggests that it is just a representation of me as a house. That was a puppy's tail. They're really crazy today. Um, it's me as a house, and I'm being um, constructed and developed and renovated and all kinds of stuff going on in this house. And when I'm there, I engage different people that I haven't met in real life, but that seem to me like real people, real beings, not necessarily, just an aspect of myself. Sometimes I do engage aspects of myself that I know clearly are in the role of showing me some part of myself that I didn't know about or have been ignoring or that's developing. Yeah. Um, and then sometimes it's like these have to be real beings that are separate because the way that they act is just completely different. It's not something that is that I can recognize as a part of me. Um, so yeah, I think, is there another place that I can think of? There are so many places, but I can't. I visited hospitals um, for different reasons, not necessarily because I was like ill or because I had a problem that I had to go to the hospital. Um, but there are hospitals that I visit, and I meet different people in those places. Um, and when I do that, I think more along the lines of me taking care of myself, like recuperating from from whatever happened that day or that week or what's going on in my life that doesn't seem to get resolved. I go to a hospital. Um, there are other land places. Let me think. Yes, there's a forest. There is a circular clearing in a forest that I visit um, when I want to speak to the divine feminine. Um, yeah, and she will visit me there in this, and it's just like a circular clearing in a very dense forest, and there are birds there, and sometimes there are uh, little chipmunks and um, squirrels and basically all the little animals are there. Um, I don't really engage the bigger animals, except I did one time. There is a place that's kind of like, it looks Arctic to me. It's like, big um, ice glaciers, and and I go there sometimes when I just want to be alone and do I guess what you would call an astral working, meditate while I'm asleep, or do a ritual. It's it's basically just an Arctic area with great blocks of icebergs, and the ocean is like blue, and um, the ice is blue and greens, and it's a beautiful place, and it's cold, but I don't seem to be bothered by the cold, um, and I bring things with me, like I might bring crystals with me, I might bring flowers or herbs, or I don't tend to bring things that I have to set on fire there. Um, I did once light a fire there, but I don't generally do that because it seems to be a bit disruptive to the whole idea of the place. Um, One time I went there and my friend visited me there, one of my friends from Facebook, and we got to play with some polar bears. Um, she lives up in Canada, way up near the what is it, subtundra? Very cold up there, and there are polar bears up there. So I guess it's a shared place now with us. But for the longest time, it was just me going up there to be left alone in my own contemplative, reflective, meditative state. But when she was there, there were a group of polar bears. There was a mother and can't remember right now if it was two or three cubs. I want to say two cubs, but it might have been three. Um, and we watched them for a while, and then they engaged with us, and we kind of played a little bit, and we followed them. They dove into the ocean below this iceberg, and we followed them. So when we went into the ocean, it's always very clear to me, like it's like glass. Um, it was very blue and green and very bright. There was a lot of light there, even though there wasn't really much sun, under the iceberg. So I'm not sure where the light was coming from. Probably reflected off the ice. But so we went under this iceberg, and and there was this depression in the iceberg, and we were just kind of swimming and dancing around down there. And I got myself stuck in a corner in this iceberg, and I couldn't really see how to get myself out. I was like, okay, there's this is the iceberg, and there's this depression here, in the iceberg down below. I was like in here, and I felt like claustrophobic. And so at that point, I decided it was a good idea for me to wake up, because most of the time I can understand that I'm dreaming, and that I can wake myself up if I need to, or if I feel uncomfortable. And I got really claustrophobic, so I was like, okay, I'm just going to wake up now. um, so there's that place in the Arctic, and um, the cave, and the mountain houses, and the university, and is that it? My childhood home. Oh, and there's a creek that I visit, that is part of my memory as a child. Um, it was called. It was actually a lake, Swan Lake, but there was this part to it that came off, and it streamed off, and it became this small little creek area. And I would go with my family, with my mom and my dad and my sister, uh, when my parents were still together. Um, and we would go there, and sometimes we would fish, but most of the time we just went there when it was really hot in the summer to get cool, and we would swim around in the water, and there were little guppy fish in the water, and we just had a lot of fun there. And when I go there in my dreams, it's just to kind of revisit my memories, and I think that's pretty much what it is. It's just me revisiting um, the good memories that I've had there. And sometimes I meet dream people there too. So I'm thinking that it might be something of um, an ideal, an archetypal place for me, um, where I go to engage my good memories of my childhood, and my inner child. Um, That's all I can think of right now, and this is becoming a very long video, so I think I'm going to stop and say all stars shine on your path, and um, I hope that I added to this conversation without saying too much that I didn't need to say. We'll see. Yeah, all stars shine on your path, and that's it.